Hello and welcome to BritVision, your new face in the media. Now we've got a lot to talk about tonight, loads from current affairs and politics, and I'm sure you will be great viewers in joining me and getting your comments in. Now we're very happy to hear your comments and we love to hear your comments. So I will show you how to get in touch with us on BritVision. So, of course, you can get in touch with us on Instagram, BritVision Media, and as you can see on the screen, that is us. On Twitter and X at Ollie Politics, and in the live stream chat to the side of me, I can see your comments as they come in. So we want to let us see your views, and we'll try and read them all out. Depends how many we do end up getting, but hopefully we get a lot of comments and views coming in as we grow as a channel. So first up, I do want to talk about the budget. So my analysis of the budget. So basically on Saturday Night Live, we're going to talk about the budget first. So first of all, pensioners felt massively left out. Now I understand the fact that obviously pensioners didn't really get a good deal from this at all. They felt almost as if they were almost just pushed to one side and forgotten about Jeremy Hunt and the Conservative government, which to me is obviously very disturbing that quite a large proportion of the voting and active electorate are actually feeling left out by Jeremy Hunt, the Chancellor. So that is very much something which, is quite disturbing for politics as a whole, because it's almost like the Conservative Party have conceded defeat. Pensioners, the sort of Conservative voters typically are the people who the Conservatives would have gone for in the past. And to not have that big group of people voting for the Conservatives in that way anymore would be put the Conservatives in serious doubt at the next election, which they're already in massive doubt, as you'll see from the next segment, which is about polling data. So yeah, it's very much like the Conservatives have conceded defeat with this almost sort of just a political game of a budget. So yeah, I don't think Jeremy Hunt covered himself in glory, especially from that point of view of the pensioners. So that was one of the things which stood out to me and stood out to a lot of people from the latest budget. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is Hunt's first opening statement to Parliament from the budget, and it was about the £1 million Muslim War Memorial. Now, this has obviously caused some controversy within, many political groups. Some groups saying this is absolutely brilliant news that Jeremy Hunt is commemorating and showing the sacrifice of, millions of Muslim war veterans who gave up their life during World War One, World War Two, etc. In order to fight for our freedoms and for our liberties that we have today. However, you've also got groups of people that are saying, why can't we as a collective have a war memorial that sort of shows everybody as their for their sacrifice, as opposed to dividing us into little groups and going, well, you can have your little memorial, you can have your memorial, and it very much seemed to me that it was quite divisive for some, but very cohesive for others. And obviously, this was obviously put forward by Sajid Javid. Hunt has shown that it's been put forward by Sajid Javid, and he has said that. And Sajid Javid did support it, and there was actually a moment within the budget where the camera did pan on to Sajid Javid, and he did actually, he was nodding in agreement. He was very happy with this, and Hunt did acknowledge the fact that it was very important that this was put forward and this was actually taken forward by the Chancellor in the budget. So, obviously nods of agreement from Sajid Javid. Some of the Labour Party politicians did support it as well. It had a lot of support, and it's also divided some people as well. And obviously it's going to be divisive. Why can't we remember people as one? Why do we have to see people in their divided little groups? Is obviously something which people question. Is that cohesive, or is that just being more divisive? That's one of the questions that it has raised, and I suppose it is very, very much a difference in opinion on that one. And next up is the vape tax. Now, Jeremy Hunt announced a vape tax. And the aim of the vape tax, I think, was to protect people's children, protect the people, who are sort of sitting at home going, well, loads of kids are vaping. Do we know, is it going to protect them? How are young kids going to feel? And ultimately, what the issue with the vape tax was that it wasn't going to come in for about 2 years, I don't think. So I think it was 2026. So this was quite a stupid policy, really. But I suppose I do get the point of view where Hunt's coming from. He's giving the Conservative voters an ultimatum, sort of going, well, if you vote for us to stay in next election, we will deliver on this vape tax. We will make sure it gets put in to protect your children. Now, one thing I don't think he's really acknowledged is there are some parents out there who allow their children to vape. There are some parents out there who, even buy their kids vapes. That does happen in society, and we can't ignore the fact of that. And unfortunately, I don't think it's done him very, very many favours. I think out of everything that he could have done, people wanted, to see something to do with them struggling to feed their families, struggling to put the heating on, all these different things, struggling to pay their bills. Another thing which people have complained about. It seems like he's been quite ignorant to that, and has put this vape tax in place as sort of, well, look at what we're doing for society, when actually he could be doing so much more. So in his defense, what he would say to that is that actually, as Chancellor, he can only work with the budget that he's got. He can only work with the sort of economic situation that we're in. And if the economic situation doesn't allow massive tax cuts, then obviously that's not within his power to do so. So actually, this is going to be, something which divides many people. It's going to be something that people seriously laugh at and just go, what the hell is this? So people are just going to probably sneer at it, really. I certainly had a little chuckle at it when it came about. So yeah, that was definitely something which I didn't find very good from the Chancellor. And probably the main thing that Jeremy Hunt wanted to channel to us is the cut to national insurance. So I think it was 2p cut to national insurance. Now, obviously, that was very much one of his flagship policies of the budget, as well as this Muslim War Memorial. So, one of these things that sort of Hunt has said is that he's going to put a 2p cut to national insurance with the hope of actually getting rid of national insurance altogether in the future when the economic situation allows. And I think this is another bit of sort of vote for us and we'll do you lots of favours sort of thing. And it does make me feel that actually Hunt has yet again tried to do something and it's not really going to work for him. However, the cut to national insurance will put more money in people's pockets. We've seen that. However, what everyone has said, the instant criticism of this is the fact that actually, with council tax going up, all the tax going up generally, and actually, inflation as high as it is, will it actually make people richer? I'm not sure that it will. lots of people aren't sure that it will, and most people are certain that it won't really benefit many people. So, as a matter of fact, what I want to hear from the Chancellor is something much, much better, and actually something much, much more comprehensive. But he didn't deliver on that, and lots of people are now saying that the Conservatives have basically, admitted defeat to the Labour Party because they have failed to put anything forward of, of clear value apart from this cut to national insurance. However, as we were saying before, because of everything as high as it is, inflation, council tax, everything's going up. That has sort of killed any idea that this is going to be a successful policy and it's going to actually work. So, yeah, it's very much something that hasn't worked in Hunt's favour, I don't think, and definitely is something that which I find is completely out of touch with the people of Britain in terms of, oh, I need to pay my energy bills, I need to be able to pay this. It's one of them things really that doesn't work and sort of worked for him and the government. They've conceded defeat to the Labour Party at this point, I think, because no one will vote for them on this basis. So they're going to have to either turn it around really, really dramatically, or they are going to have to show that this is going to work for people. So continue on the budget analysis. So we've gone through the points, and this is how Jeremy Hunt celebrated. So he celebrated this as his post directly from Twitter, as you can see to the right of your screen. He said, celebrating freezing alcohol duty. Cheers. So this is Jeremy Hunt's official Twitter account on X. That is the picture of him. And yes, he is having a pint. He is frozen alcohol duty. Now, the main thing that people would say to that is freezing alcohol duty isn't enough at this point, because going to the pub and having a pint is still too much money for normal average working people. So actually, what the hell is going on here? This is something that is yet another thing that's saying, look at what I'm doing, but it's actually going to have no effect on you as the public. It's just going to make me seem much, much better. But I don't think it will work. So we have got through the first section of Saturday Night Live. The first Saturday Night Live, and this is a good day for me, having this show on YouTube, and thanks to the YouTube for letting independent media like me have accounts. Hopefully, plenty of people will watch at some point, even if you're not on the live now. Hopefully, you will be able to catch up on this and hear my undivided opinion. So, next up, we will have something on the latest polling data. The Labour Party are up to win the next election according to certain polling. Reform have gone up in polling. We're talking about Reform's success, and later on we'll be talking about Theresa May leaving politics. So actually, we've got plenty to talk about. Now we will go to a break. So hopefully, I'll join you back in just a few moments' time. See you in a few minutes. Hello and welcome back to BritVision Saturday Night Live, and we are in BritVision, a fresh face in the media. So you can get in touch with me live on the show, and I will read out your comments. You can get in touch with us on Instagram at the official BritVision Media, which is the name of the account is just there. We also have Twitter at Ollie Politics, and we've got the YouTube live stream chat, which I can see right in front of my very eyes. So please feel free to send in your views. I will try and read them out. And of course, I will read them out as we have only got a small viewer number at the moment. So that is excellent. So next up, what I want to talk about is I would love to talk about the latest polling data. So the Labour Party are polled to win the next election after the budget. So this is data from People Polling on the 7th of March. And this showed that the Labour Party had increased by 1, and they were getting 46% of the votes of the data sets. The Conservatives were getting 18%, and they were down by 2. The Reform Party are now at 13%. 13%. This is a massive change for a party that, in the 2019 general election, were a small party looking to influence Boris Johnson on Brexit, and they actually stood back for him in order to win and get Brexit done, as his famous policy was. You've got Lib Dems who are stagnating on 10%. There's reasons for that. I'm going to discuss them in just a moment. So the first takeaway from this is that the Reform Party, the Reform UK Party, have the highest polling data that they have ever seen. So 13%, this is going well for Reform UK. Richard Tice, everyone said that Richard Tice isn't good as Farage, isn't as good as Ben Habib, for instance, who is the co-deputy leader with Dr. David Bull. But look at Richard Tice. He is literally bringing the party to new heights, and capitalising on the failure of the Conservative Party. You had someone on Question Time the other night, I think it was, the clips all over the internet, saying that the Reform Party actually has hit on a lot of things that the electorate want. So is it a matter of fact that the Reform UK Party are just another little political party that wants to get into power? Or due to the failure of the Conservatives, will they get more votes? Will they get some seats? And actually, will they be a future force of political reckoning in the UK? Who knows? So next up, we have Labour, who are on track to win. So Flip-Flop Starmer, as he's been named by the Conservatives and a few people in the media, is on track to win the next election with the Labour Party. And it's hardly surprising, really, due to the two-party system that we do have in this country, where it's either Labour or Conservatives who will outright win power, or basic failure of the Conservative Party. They have failed so woefully on being conservative, for instance, putting forward policies that benefit businesses, that benefit small businesses, that benefit the working people's tax. So it's hardly surprising that Labour do have are on track to win the next election, with Reform catching up to the Conservatives. Look at that. They are 5% behind. 5% behind the Conservatives. The Conservatives should be scared of this complete obliteration that Ben Habib has spoke about. He wants to obliterate the Tories. And subsequently, he's planning to stand in Wellingborough in the general election, which is coming up when the Conservatives decide to announce it. So it's probably going to be later this year. I don't think it's going to be May at this rate. They've got nothing to win if they do it in May. They've got no time to make a change. And Lib Dems have remained stagnant. So I completely understand why the Lib Dems have been quite divisive. You've got Ed Davey, who's been wrapped up in the post office scandal. He has been, linked in some way to the post office scandal. So it's hardly surprising that voters have gone, do we really want the Lib Dems back in power? In any sort of power like they were in the coalition? Do we want them in any sort of power at all? And only 10% of the population think that they should. So I completely understand why they've stagnated and why reform have been that driving force. You know, Ed Davy's woefulness, Ed Davy, you know, calling for people to resign, but as soon as other people call him to resign, he goes into hiding. You know, what next? You know, what next in politics? You know, who actually knows? So, next up, my thoughts on the 2024 general election after this data. So, the parties, I've just spoke about the parties a little bit, and I've just gone through the data that we have there. And obviously, this is very much something that could change if the Conservatives do put forward any policies, but I don't think they will. I think they've conceded defeat. I think they've run out of ideas after 14 years. I think they've actually run out of ideas. Next thing is the threat of George Galloway. Now, George Galloway says his party, the Workers' Party of Britain, can be a threat to Starmer. Now, I'm not sure about this. Personally, I'm not sure about this. George Galloway has said he has got 300 candidates. Now, he won the Rochdale by-election on basically putting forward his basic campaign behind Gaza and what's going on in Gaza at the moment and Palestine. So, it's going to appeal to a certain group of people. He wanted to appeal to the Muslim vote, which he did, and he won. He won that election from doing that. So really, could he be a threat to Starmer? I don't know. It's all right saying Rochdale's a good example of the Worker Party of Britain's good ideas, but really, compared to Labour, compared to the rest of the country, is Rochdale a good sample to look at when it comes to Galloway's supposed success and the Workers' Party of Britain's success? It might be Galloway's success on his own, but it might not be for the Workers' Party of Britain. The Tories' failure. Now, the budget was another nail in the Tories' coffin, I thought, personally. The Tories just seem to be, a dying breed of people. They just seem to be sort of collapsing in on themselves. There's now Twitter posts which have been reported on. I was watching the GB News headlines, which said that Tom Tugendhat and another Tory MP were using Twitter posts to have a go at the government's recent budget for the failure to put more money into defence spending. Now, obviously, with Russia, Ukraine war, and obviously what's going on in the Middle East, defence is something that is obviously going to be important to a number of people. It's important to me. I feel like that we need to be on alert in case Putin does decide to invade the Baltic states, or maybe even Poland if he's so stupid enough to try and invade Poland. But he'd have the full force of NATO whacking back at him, so I don't think he would do it in that way. Now, obviously, I want to talk about lastly the rise of Reform. Now, you may not be able to tell, but I do quite like Reform and Richard Tice. I think they are a force to be reckoned with. There are some names in the Reform Party that just scream out to me and go, this is the party that will represent me, and represent a lot of people. Now, personally, people like, Richard Tice has proved himself to me as being very, very capable and very competent. Ben Habib, Ben Habib is one of my favourite people in politics at the moment. He's so intelligent, and he puts forward his views in such a intelligent way, and in a way that can appeal to people. If he'd have won the Wellington by-election a few weeks back, was it a month back, a few weeks back? If he'd have won that by-election, he would have been the most charismatic politician that Westminster has seen for a while. now. And when I mean for a while, I mean a couple of decades. You know, he is a force to be reckoned with. So the rise of reform for me is very, very good. You know, and the fact that they had their recent conference in Doncaster, you know, having it up north in a place that suffered from deindustrialisation in the past is something that will appeal to working class voters. They are also a threat to Labour. If they get in these Labour stronghold areas, they could have serious impacts. So, you know, you never know with reform. So that's my thoughts on the upcoming 2024 general election, which is either going to be in May or later this year. I think it's going to be later this year. I don't think it's going to be in May. And I think most people don't think it's going to be in May because they've got nothing, because the Conservatives have got nothing to keep them in power. So that's my thoughts. And I think we're going to go to another break. Yes, we are. So we'll be back in 2 or 3 minutes for Saturday Night Live. And thank you for watching. We'll be back in a few moments' time. Hello and welcome back to Brit Vision, a fresh face in the media. This is Saturday Night Live and we have just been to a short break. So we have talked about the budget and we've talked about the latest polling data after the budget. And we've talked about the party's prospects at the next election. Now, what have we got coming up next? We have got, well, first of all, a reminder how you can get in touch with the show. So you can get in touch and have your opinions heard. Instagram, Brit Vision Media, we've got some underscores in that, so please make sure you put them in the right place and you will find us on there. You'll see the blue logo with the white writing. You've got Twitter and X at Ollie Politics, and you've also got the YouTube live stream chat, which I can see live right in front of me now, and we want to let us know your views and we'll try and read them out. Of course we will. We want, this is what the independent media is about. It's about letting you have your voice and have your opinion heard. So that is the brilliant thing about the likes of YouTube. It lets you do that. So next up, Theresa May is set to step down at the next election from politics. Now, this is a report that up to 64 Tory MPs could step down at the next general election, before the next general election. So that could mean a big shape up in the Tory party. Now, is this worrying for politics? Yes. Now, why has Theresa May chose to jump ship? Maybe it's because of the Tory failure. So what has the Tory party done for her since she's become Prime Minister? Boris Johnson got the biggest majority in ages, but did he do anything with that? Yes, he did. But then COVID came along. So, he really messed that up, didn't he, with the COVID lockdown situation and the Partygate. That really did destroy him. So the Tory failure could be a reason why Theresa May is jumping ship. Politics becoming too toxic. Now, this is something that has really drawn to my attention recently with recent debates in terms of actually Lee Anderson's comments over Islamism, which saw him have the Tory whip removed. But completely toxic environment has been created in politics. Jeremy Hunt's office recently had "Die Tory Scum" spray painted on the windows. So does it really say much for politics that actually people who don't want to get into politics or want to leave politics because they simply fear its toxicity? And I think that could be a factor within that, because why would you want to be in why would you want to be in a line of work that means that you are going to get abuse on a daily basis from people on social media, people coming to your constituency office? Why would you put yourself in that danger? You've got Mike Freer, who's leaving politics because of threats to his life, for instance, going round, having to have panic buttons installed in his homes, etc. Has politics become too toxic for people? And is that why, we are seeing people jump ship? Maybe. Absolutely, that is definitely a possibility that what we have. So that could be that's a few of the reasons. And what does it mean for the future of politics? Who actually knows? Politics is divisive. It's clear that it is divisive. So who actually knows what's going on here? It's going to be a very difficult few months for politicians with the whole Gaza pro-Palestine thing. So I think there's going to be something that seriously has to change in terms of politics. So yeah, I think that's a couple of reasons why Theresa May has stepped down. And also I think that the future of politics is very grim. Is very grim for people like normal people who want to stand in politics, because the abuse, the threats of violence are just so much within today's society, especially on social media. That actually, why would you put yourself in harm's way? Why would you put your mental health in harm's way? So this will conclude the show for today. So please get your comments in. We'll be back next week, I hope, for another stream. You'll be able to catch up on the stream on YouTube, because this will be recorded on YouTube. And I just want to thank you for joining and watching. This is a new venture. It's a scoping exercise for me to see what the opinions are in the media, and hopefully BritVision, the fresh face in the media, can grow. So I hope that you will join us, and I hope that this will be good for the future of politics. and also for the media getting your opinion heard. So thank you for watching, and have a a good rest of your Saturday night. Couldn't get my words out there. Goodbye to you all.